One of the barriers to train travel is undoubtedly ticketing. I don't mean just the price, I mean the complexity. Sometimes it feels like you need a PhD just to navigate the system. But what if you could come to your local station, like Melksham here in Wiltshire, get out your phone, jump on an app, just click Start Journey. When you get to the other end, click Stop Journey. The system would then charge you the correct price, the lowest price available, and you could have complete trust that it had done it all correctly. Does that sound like science fiction? Well, if it does, I have some good news. It's rapidly becoming science fact, thanks to a groundbreaking trial called Digital Pay-as-you-go. And recently, I got the chance to see it for myself. I've come here to St Pancras in London to catch a train to Leicester and see the Digital Pay-as-you-go trial that's already in place. Contactless ticketing has been with us for a while. Ask anyone in London who uses the tap-in, tap-out system on the Underground or the buses as to how straightforward it is. Since 2012 on London buses and 2014 on the Tube, it's worked with your bank card. You don't need a dedicated ticket, and it's trusted. There are caps in place to ensure you never pay too much. Basically, it works. But it has drawbacks. It's dependent on installing a great deal of expensive infrastructure, such as ticket gates and card readers. Fine for a major city like London, but never justified at a station like Melksham. And it doesn't work with rail cards either. Your debit card has no idea you also have a young person's or senior citizen's rail card. Which is where this trial comes in. It's one of 4 underway at the moment, and this one is being carried out jointly by leading ticketing innovator and retailer Trainline and East Midlands Railway, covering a triangular area in the East Midlands between Leicester, Derby and Nottingham. Steve Gooder is Vice President of Retail Innovation at Trainline, and he explains how it works.
You start your journey and the system figures out all of the train journeys that you took, and then at the end of the day it charges you the right amount by determining exactly what you did and what the best set of fares that you could be charged on the day of travel were. And then it bills you overnight, and as you go through the week, if it decides a weekly season would have been better or you've reached a cap, then it will stop charging you at that point. So you automatically get the right value, the best value, without having to plan in advance or buy tickets in advance or select the fare or the ticket type or anything like that.
And it's fundamentally using GPS, so it kind of knows where you are at any one point, so it can accurately track your journey.
Yes, exactly. So it uses a combination of geolocation and barcode scans. If you do go through a gate, it will factor that in. And what it actually does behind the scenes is it correlates your movement with the train that you took. So it uses the Darwin live train data to say you were on exactly that particular train, that vehicle, and therefore we can charge you the right amount, whether it, we know exactly whether it was off peak or peak. There's no confusion around the right fare, and hopefully that builds trust because you know that you'll be charged the right amount and there's no effort involved.
So time now to see it working in practice. We started our test trip at Leicester. So having arrived on the train from London, I went through the barriers out onto the concourse and started my new journey using the Digital Pay-as-you-go trial from Leicester to Derby from scratch. So here at Leicester, we're going to start the Digital Pay-as-you-go trial. I've got my phone, I've got my app on it. We're going to give it a go and actually tell the app that we've arrived at Leicester and we're about to make a journey. Okay, here we go. So switch my phone on. We'll go to the Pay-as-you-go app. Right. Oh, we also get a helpful little explanation. So use my barcode on any train, get the right fare automatically. There we go. Stay on top of your travel costs. Excellent. Right. Try Pay-as-you-go now. Okay, it gives me a little map of the area, Leicester, Nottingham, Derby. Next. It's totally transparent. I'm guessing that this is, well, we can skip this, so let's skip this now. Actually, we'll allow notifications. How about that? Yep, we'll allow that. I don't have a rail card, so we'll skip that. Okay, next. Stress-free payment, right. We'll ask you for a one-time payment authorization. Okay, let's do that with Apple Pay. There we are, done that. We're all set up. Okay, so it knows we're in Leicester. The trial has given me a £15 float. Tap to go. And it's as simple as that. So tap to go. And that's it. We have started our journey. Great. We'll go to the gate line. Now, because there's a gate line here at Leicester, we need to have a barcode. So, and there's the barcode. Excellent. Right. We'll go to the gate and we'll give this a try. That really couldn't have been more straightforward, and so we jump on the train to Derby, even though I have a slightly odd feeling from not actually having bought a traditional ticket, whether paper, digital or otherwise. Everything is done via an app. What happens if my battery runs out?
Most ticketing now is on a phone, and so you have a responsibility to keep your device charged. And the EMR trains have charging points, and we're very careful about how much battery we use in the app. We measure that very carefully. But yes, if your phone does completely run out of charge, then you don't have a way to prove that you have authority to travel. So there is some responsibility on the customer to make sure they've got a way of evidencing that.
And that's not specific to this trial, is that true of any? So
True of any,
and be aware of that.
And true of e-tickets or anything else really, yeah.
At Derby, I go through the process of exiting the station to see how I would end my journey using the app. Okay, so we've arrived at Derby, finished our journey from Leicester. And one of the things you have to do is you have to make sure you don't end your journey until you've gone through the barrier. So that's the really key thing. So what I'll do is I'll get the barcode out, go through the gate, and then we'll end the journey. So there's my barcode. Okay. Okay, so here we are. So the location knows the blue dot there is Derby railway station. We've gone through the barrier, so now simply tap to end. So interestingly, it tells me once we've done this, you won't be able to scan the barcode. That's okay, we've done that, we've come through the gates, end the journey. And there we go. And I get my journey history will appear. So here we go. Here's my journey. I started at Leicester, ended at Derby, and I can look at the details. And there we go. Shows me when the tracking started, shows me when the tracking stopped. Now, this particular version of the app is not the absolutely latest one, but on the latest one that you can download a PDF. As you see, we were heavily delayed because of trespassers on the line south of Leicester. So if we look at the updated version, you'll see that you can download the PDF. Here's the latest version of the app, and now we can download the PDF, and there it is, journey breakdown. So if you need to claim delay repay, there it is. You can upload that to the delay repay site and get a refund on your journey if you've been delayed. Steve and I chat about a few more features of the system and trial. I do have some burning questions. So at the moment, it's the trial. We're in the East Midlands trial, which is like a triangle of Derby, Nottingham and Leicester.
That's right.
And it's just singles on the day. Is that right? Or that's not a limitation of the system?
No, I mean, it is. It's single. So it uses single leg pricing, where the leg of the journey is half of a return, effectively. So it's very simple for people to understand. And then rail cards are applied, so that that brings the fare down if it's applicable. But then during the day you can reach a cap. So if you were to spend more than £23, it will stop charging there. And then through the week it will do that as well. So it will determine if you hit the weekly cap, which is £73, it will stop charging completely. So you can keep travelling within the Nottingham, Derby, Leicester area, and you won't be charged anymore. And then there is another form of capping, which is that if a weekly season would have been better value between 2 points, it will charge you for that. So the idea is that it's kind of got your back, whatever you do, and you get charged the right amount without any effort.
And presumably that That's all about that building trust so that people know I can have confidence. I know I'm not going to get scammed or overcharged. I might want to travel more.
Exactly that. And, you know, even those of us who work in the industry, I think the fares, they're quite complicated. It's a lot to understand. And I know that we're simplifying that as an industry. But really, especially for short commute journeys or casual journeys, the effort for a user, for a passenger, should be minimal. You shouldn't have to think about it too hard. And if you build that trust, as you say, simplify the whole thing so it just kind of fades into the background and you trust that you'll be charged the right amount, maybe that will drive more rail consideration and modal shift. Good for the environment, good for the railways, good for customers, good for everyone, I think.
I think one of the things I have seen a comment about is that why are we inventing a new technology when we've already got contactless pay as you go, either tap in, tap out?
Yeah.
Would it not just have been easier to extend that out in other parts of the country?
Right. Well, so there's a lot of great things about contactless pay as you go, no doubt. I don't think it works everywhere. It doesn't work well, for instance, for rail cards. It's very hard to, you can't apply at the moment a rail card to a contactless fare. So you're automatically charged the full fare. And then child fares as well. And also when you think about the infrastructure required to roll out across the country, especially in the East Midlands, many stations are not going to be gated. Yeah. And it wouldn't be economically viable to do so. So this is a very low infrastructure solution. It can be rolled out very quickly. So we rolled this trial out with 10 weeks from signing the contract to the first customer travelling.
As fast as that? 10 weeks?
10 weeks, yeah. And there's no infrastructure cost. It uses existing infrastructure where it's available, like barcode scanners on gates, and of course the GPS system and people's smartphones that they carry with them. So it's a very low infrastructure, low cost, fast to roll out, economically viable approach is how I'd see it.
How many people have actually signed up for the trial? Is it enough so far to get the data you're going to need to demonstrate whether this is a success or not?
So we're at 500 now, and we're seeing really frequent use. So when people try it, they keep using it, which is of course what we wanted to see.
Yeah.
So I think we will get very good learnings, and we are getting good learnings from 500 frequent travellers. But we want to get, and we will get to 1,000 in the next few months. So certainly by the end of February, we'll be at 1,000 users, and that's the target level for the trials, 1,000 users in the trial. And that should give us, it will give us a lot of information, statistically significant. You can analyse patterns and trends. You can run surveys and learn about their behaviours before and after, and whether it's driving a difference in behaviour and how satisfied they feel. So yeah, I think we're learning a lot already, and we'll learn enough for the DFT to establish how successful it is and how useful it might be in a more wide context going forward.
But some people, they might not want to be tracked. I mean, some people don't have and don't want to use a smartphone. Is there a risk of those people being disenfranchised?
We're not saying that this replaces all other forms of ticketing, right. And it's important that people can choose the right fulfilment method for them. Smartphone usage is very high across the country. I think it's way over 90% overall, and in the mid 70%, 72, 73% for those over 65, I think. So that's increasing. So actually, I do think it applies very well to most segments of society, and for a lot of older people, like the test, would your mum use it, is a good one for me. And rail ticketing is quite hard, and what we're trying to do here is you press one button and that's it. That's all you need to do to be charged the right amount, including if you have a senior rail card, you automatically get the value that you're due. So given that audience, I think it applies really well. I think there's a lot of people who might use rail a little bit more if they didn't have to figure out what ticket they need or how to operate a ticket vending machine, etc. So we are finding a lot of older users and very high satisfaction rates.
East Midlands Railway are a pivotal partner in this trial, and Steve is keen to acknowledge how supportive they have been and how engaged the East Midlands Railway staff have also been.
We've had a really good response, and we work really closely with EMR. So they've kind of co-designed this with us. We wanted an operator to input and and work on a lot of the details and making sure the staff were briefed and it works for their objectives, not just customers. So yeah, we've had an amazing participation and partnership with EMR, including the staff. So every chance I get, I talk to revenue protection or train managers. Like, have you seen this? How is it working for you? And we've learned a lot from that. We've had a good response, but we keep learning and ways to make it work better for the frontline staff and as well as the passengers and the operator overall.
Digital pay-as-you-go is not the only new ticketing technology or scheme in town. Other systems and trials are popping up all over the place, such as in Manchester, where Mayor Andy Burnham is keen to introduce an integrated ticketing platform for the growing B network. So is there not a risk of systems overlapping and getting seriously confused in the process?
So there's nothing nothing blocks these systems from coexisting nicely together, and we'd love the opportunity to trial that. I think it's a relatively easy thing to show how this could roll out, and it sits alongside other forms of ticketing already. It coexists with paper ticketing, it coexists with smart card and other methods, and there's no reason it can't coexist with the contactless system as well, and can be extended to multimodal use as well. So it's not intrinsically rail only. It can be expanded quite easily to trams and buses, and we've got some of that technology working already. It's not in this trial, but entirely feasible.
Of course, despite the fact that this system is clearly infrastructure light, it still costs something. So I ask Steve, who's paying and what comes next?
The trials are backed by government funding. The DfT funded it just under £1 million, I think. And we've obviously invested a lot over time to build this technology. And yeah, through these trials, we get to try it out with customers and prove that it really works. The trials will run through to the summer of 2026. And I think there'll then be a report on the evaluation of the trials. And then it's really up to DfT as to what happens next. We hope that it can expand outwards and we can bring the benefit to more customers and add new features, like you mentioned, traveling with your family, for instance. That would be a great way to expand the trial beyond the summer of 2026 in my mind. But then essentially geographic expansion or other new features, or just opening it up to a wider group beyond the 1,000 trialists.
I am very impressed with this trial so far. It seems to me that it could combine the perfect mix of technology, functionality, ease of use, and crucially, trust. And on the way home, I get to see that in action, firsthand. When we had first arrived at Derby, I had gone through the barrier using the barcode provided on the app and ended my journey from Leicester using the app. I had then started another journey from Derby at 13:41, using the app and using a new barcode generated by the app to get back through the gates. However, with East Midlands Railway's kind permission, Steve and I had then done an interview on the station before catching a train back to Leicester, which had ended up departing from Derby slightly late at 14:54. Unbeknown to me, my phone battery had died mid-interview around 14:08. And I realised this as we were pulling into Leicester when Steve said, "Don't forget to end your journey." We weren't getting off at Leicester. We were staying on the train and carrying on through to London. So I grabbed my charger, plugged in the phone, and the app re-established connection at 15:26. However, because my phone had died while I was interviewing Steve on the platform, the app had decided I had not travelled and told me so. This was a good opportunity to test another feature of the system. I clicked the link marked Update Details, and under Report an Issue, clicked on Missing or Wrong Journey Details. I added my departure and arrival stations, and the app cleverly worked out the most likely train I had caught. I confirmed that I had indeed caught the train it thought I had, and all was well. Steve explained that had I not done that and been an honest citizen, it would still have been picked up through what's called a manual inspection review the next day. And since the app records battery status from your phone, it means it can confirm genuine flat batteries. Plus, Trainline can uniquely determine the specific train you use via their signal box technology. Steve added that
If a pattern of behaviour emerges, such as frequently travelling with a phone with a low battery that powers off during travel, customers would be notified of their obligations by email and, if it continued, the device could be blocked from further use on digital pay-as-you-go. It is a powerful tool in tackling fraudulent behaviour, but although I was also given a glimpse of how it works behind the scenes, and I was mightily impressed, for obvious reasons I was asked not to show that on the video. On the way back to London, and by complete coincidence, we catch one of East Midlands Railway's lovely new Class 810 Aurora trains. They are a very tangible glimpse of the future. So whilst at Derby, I had asked Steve to peer into his crystal ball and give us a glimpse of what he thought the future for train tickets might be.
For most everyday journeys, I think they should kind of go away. The ideal would be that they fade into the background and become a trusted utility, that it just works and the railway just works and fair, best price works as an approach. And at the same time, you get the support you need from an app-based environment, something that you can only deliver in an app. So set it and forget it. You travel, you're charged the right amount. If you know everything is working, you don't need any information. If your train is delayed, then it's there when you need it, because we can provide that contextualized journey support, but only when you need it.
Well done to Trainline, to East Midlands Railway and the DfT for pushing these trials forward. This is exactly what we need to see, a system that makes travel simpler and gives people real confidence. There will be naysayers, there always are, but this system is not going to replace everything we have today, as Steve said, and there is still further functionality to be developed in the future. But for local journeys where tickets are bought on the day or they're weekly or period season tickets, the digital pay-as-you-go system could well be the future. Science fiction becoming science fact, and in the process demystifying the way we buy train tickets and removing a big barrier to more people travelling by train.